Nice. All right, cool. All right. This is going to be the official start of the stream. I've emailed out. Maybe we'll have some people join. Let's go and let's just clean some stuff up, you know. Got my Zoom here. Hopefully I don't have people joining. All right, I got all kinds of applications open, but we're gonna make it work, you know. We're gonna make it work. Make it a little bit smaller. There we go. You know, the most important part of the stream, the face cam. All right, so hi, hello. If you are going to be tuning into the stream or watching the replay, you are presumably somebody who edits web pages for AU, hopefully OCL. But if not, welcome. We don't judge here. Anybody's welcome in. Come on into the fold. So editing web pages, I'm just going to do a basic guide today. A lot of this is about testing, making sure it records right. But the first step is going to be logging in. In our guide, we have these steps, but this is what you need to log in. cms.american.edu/login.cfm. Let me turn this down a little bit. I do appreciate the music, but time and place. So you log in with your basic user credentials, your username before the @American or @student.american if you're a student, and then your regular credentials. You hit login, and it's going to take you to the home page. If you don't have that box, let's see if that's no longer the case with this. You can hit open my common spot, and let's see if it's going to play nice. Many moons ago when I first started, this wouldn't work, but nope. So it's going to take you to the home page, right? And over in the top right, you're going to see this white box with a pencil. The standard is you can go to my comment spot. My view here is going to look very different from a lot of yours. I get to see what everybody in OCL is doing, and I also have approver rights, so I can see pages pending approval. This one's bugged. It's been waiting a long time. But if you want to find your pages, honestly, the easiest way I found is just go to it with your www, right? Then click back in there and replace that www with CMS. So a lot of times you're going to have pages bookmarked, or you received a link from somebody that's like, hey, there's an error here. Could you change the typo or whatever? Just go to that page. After you log in, you can then replace www with CMS. And then you have this box here where you can work on the page again. But I have a script, so let me go and stick to it. Let me also pull it up real quick. All right, so the CMS content management system, this is how we edit all of the web pages. Close this dashboard. Let's go and start with making a new page from scratch. So up here, no, let's actually not do a new page. Let me just go ahead and find my example page. So if you want to navigate through a lot of pages through this system, and you're going to need to know how to do this if you are going to link to other AU web pages, under Tools, Find, all of our web pages, so you saw that I went to OCL, right? It is american.edu/OCL. Think of it like folders, and hopefully you see that these have little folder icons. So the just slash is just american.edu, /about/AU, alumni, right? These are basically folders where we keep other web pages. And of course, folders can have more folders. So I'm interested in OCL. I find a lot of times this doesn't like to extend very far. So I just type in here. If you know your subsite, it's pretty easy. And you can always see the subsite name because it's going to be part of the URL of the web page. So I have a nice, ugly example page where I do all of my foul deeds. So a big part of making web changes is just about putting your content up there or even making it look good. A lot of what we have to consider is how we're delivering this information, and how users interface with that. So everything is not created equal for this. So some users will need certain accessibility concerns taken into account for this. So you need to make sure that images have something called alt text. You got to make sure that we have alternative methods for people to read and check all this information. So some of it's more design based. A lot of it also deals with the technology that people like. Blind users are kind of the go-to example, but there's other users out there, people who can't use a mouse or a keyboard, for instance, people who have color blindness or other kind of vision impairments, things like that. So one of the first steps that we need to, or one of the first, I guess, concerns that you want to think about is line length. So the human eye, even for people with no disability, we tend to not track after a certain number of characters. About, I think, 80 characters is the count. So we try not to let text go all the way across the screen, right? So just don't do that. Your page by default should have something called a grid layout container. We can actually adjust what this is. The right sidebar layout is the default, but you can do other things. Say you do want it a little bit wider, right? So you just click that and hit save, and then it will actually change this layout. Hey, you see that? But I don't like that. So hey Cole, what are you doing? I'm totally new to this. So all of these gears are an element on the web page. And so we can change, each element does a unique function, right? The grid layout container just sets boxes basically for where we can put other stuff. So we can make changes by selecting that element and going to edit data. Interesting. I think my VPN connection is on the struggle bus a little bit. All right, so we can edit content that way, right? Edit data. Text block. Seems like it's going to be important. It is. This is probably going to be the most common element you use, and it will actually be able to achieve pretty much everything you want for the bare bones of a web page. So let's go and edit this. Whenever you open this up, you're going to have basically kind of like a Word style formatting box. You can choose bold, italics, underline, search for stuff. We can add links. You can do things like add headings, all kinds of other behaviors, insert images, tables, lists, the works. Whenever we want to get fancy, we can also mess with some of the code here. So you can add classes, IDs. If you don't know HTML, totally cool. You don't need to. Don't worry about it. But there are things like alert boxes and other elements, other layout designs for like tables and stuff that do require using code. Again, if you don't know code, you can still do it. I'm going to provide you some instructions for that. One other common question people have is, hey, I don't like how it's on the outside of the box. Don't worry, these boxes are, if you've been to AU web pages, they're not visible. But you may notice that some elements by default are within the box and the text block by default is on the outside of it. So if you want to make that line up, we can change the padding. And the padding basically is instructions for, hey, how much space do you want around the edges of the box? So we can change it to none. Right, and it's tucked in. But as you can see, it doesn't line up with our collapsibles. Again, this is a stylistic thing, up to you. Generally, I think most of us like things to be lined up, but if you want to go team chaos, such is your prerogative. All right, let's take a look at these collapsibles because they're pretty popular as well. These are great for FAQs, but one thing we want to do is make sure that we're doing, we're making it worth the click, right? So it's a tool to help people access information. But if you think about how we're looking at information on a web page, we're often just kind of scanning it for keywords. We're looking for what we need, right? A lot of times people are coming to a web page, at least on our university site, for a transaction. They want to get information they need to accomplish something, right? So a lot of times, let's make it actionable. Let's make sure that we are not hiding things. because if even it's just a click, right? But it still takes that, right? And that's enough to get people to not actually engage with the content. One thing with the colors, it needs to have a purpose. So a lot of times, and you'll hear me say this a lot, we're not doing things on the web page just for the aesthetics of it, right? So think of a stop sign. It says stop, it has a unique shape to it, and it has a unique color and traffic signs to it. So it has multiple ways of conveying the same information. Stop. So if I don't speak English, well, I can still recognize the shape of it. If I'm colorblind, I can recognize the shape, or I can read what it says on there. Think of your website in that way. The colors need to represent something. So let's say we had an FAQ, right? We're using collapsibles. We had an FAQ for students. Okay, let's make it this nice blue. FAQ for parents, the gold, alumni, etc. So you can see how we can use the color to perform a function rather than just look pretty. Same thing with these color background sections. It's pretty, but yeah, make it do something. It needs to have a purpose, right? Text block over on this right-hand container. This is something called a promo, and it's a flex element. Basically, it's a custom-made element that IT has created, and so it's got some specific rules. And in order to make sure it plays by those rules, we put it in a specific flex box. I haven't shown you how to add elements, but we'll go over that in a second. So flex elements must go in a flex container. Photos added from a text block. There's a couple different ways to do it. We can add images at the top using this photo tab. So just be aware that if you add an image in this photo tab, it's going to go to the top because, right, we don't see it over here in our content area. We can change where the photo, how big is it? Is it going to go the whole way? These are fairly self-explanatory. 1/3 right. And this is also an important thing. If it's taking a while, wait. Just wait. Do not refresh the page until you get an error. Hopefully, well, kind of not hopefully, we will get an error at some point so I can show it. But just let it do its thing. If you refresh, it adds another request to the server, and those can pile up, and it just causes problems. So the image added through the photo tab just goes across the top. If you want to add an image in the middle, let's say we want to break this up, you can click this box here, insert image from common spot. So the easiest way, if you've already got an image uploaded, it's going to ask what subsite, because we basically upload these images to folders. Your image actually generates its own unique URL link, so you could have a link straight to an image. So just hit search, and right, we got all these things, right? Title 9, big image. Let's do just this banner. So when you select it, you can use highlighted image. Alt text, let's talk about that. I'm going to be sharing the accessibility content, but whenever a blind user gets to an image, their screen reader, a tool that reads the content on the screen for them, it'll read the alt text instead. So you want the alt text to describe the image. Now, if your image is mostly text, like this little banner image is, include the text. It's easy as that. Let's say you've got a complicated bit of text on your image. Well, then we need to think about a different way to provide that information. So if you have a map or if you have a diagram, please talk to me. Let's find a way to make sure that it's accessible, because you only have about 180 characters with your alt text, so you can't necessarily just spell it all out. Now, another thing, let's say your image is just a picture of somebody, right? It's really just kind of there to show that, hey, we have human beings in our program. Look at what we've done. If it's a headshot, you can just like do a name. If it's somebody giving a presentation, you give the name. Cole Rampmeyer presenting on YouTube about web CMS. One thing that you cannot do actually is use words like photo, image, pic, picture, logo. That makes the image inaccessible. I'm not 100% sure why, but it just does. So, and you also don't need to get too crazy with it. Sometimes there's just kind of abstract images, and They're used for decoration, and that's okay. But you don't need to say like swirling greens mixed with a mournful tinge of blue. Just describe it. I think CDI has a cool color swatch. It's a picture of their wall that has all the color palettes on it, and it just says color palettes on wall. That's all you have to do. But again, I'll share a resource with that. There is a link that it's a alt text decision tree actually that IT's provided. So it's pretty useful for helping you figure out what you have to do in order to create good alt text. But just remember, your image has to be read and make it somewhat useful if it can be, but it also doesn't have to be Lord Byron's poetry whenever you're describing the image. Another accessibility common mistake or pitfall can be using headers for aesthetics. I said at the start, we need to not think about aesthetics as much, and we need to consider how things are functional and structural on this. So a screen reader uses headers almost like a table of contents to kind of jump through a page. So we need headers to descend in order, right? So if we go here to edit these headers, you can see that we've got the styling here. We can choose headers all the way 1 through 6. By default, title and subtitle are going to be header 1s. And if we look at the source, you can see it's just H2, H3 all through. So headers have to descend one at a time, H1, H2, H3, H4, but you can jump all the way back up to H1 at any time. So consider that, because again, headers are used to leap between the page. So let's say you've got, I need to think of a good example, but if you kind of need to use subcategories, have a header 1 for like meal plan information for like on-campus students, off-campus students, graduate students, and then maybe you've got like housing information that could go back to an H1, stuff like that. Again, headers, we don't use them for decoration, we use them for structure. Another kind of common problem, because I see people do this again for, I think, calling out attention, is bolding, underlining, and italicizing, or making it a header and bolding. Don't mix and match. It causes errors with the screen reader programs. So if you're going to bold something, bold it. If you're going to underline it, underline it. If you are finding that you have a paragraph or a huge text block that really needs attention drawn to lots of specific elements of it, contact me. Let's work through it. Let's find a way to design and make it all work for you and also work for accessibility. That's a good question. All right, so flex elements, right? That's, let's just go ahead and go in here. So whenever you want to actually add content, right? How the heck do we do that? So you click insert new element, and be aware, please, there should really only be 3 things you are opening here. AU 2016 redesign, 1. Redesign containers, 2. And 2016 redesign flex modules. Everything's going to have 2016 redesign in it and the header for it. You can also search for things once you know it. Like I said, text block is going to be your workhorse, so you can just search for that. You'll notice we have multiple text blocks. Ignore them. Please do not use these. Everything AU 2016 redesign necessary. All right. So let's just add a text block as an example. Hey. So we click it, and again, you want the page to basically refresh every time you make a change. So sometimes it takes a few minutes. The poor hamster in the wheel running the server, he's working hard. All right, so we have a new element, right? There's a couple ways that we can actually add content to it. We can just click to find the text block settings, or we can click on the gear and go to new data. We can't edit data because there's nothing there, right? So we go to new data, and be like, hey, I'm a live stream text block. Isn't that neat? Okay. And let's just do save. You're going to get that box. If it times out and it says error, email me so I can help log the error. And then IT can trace it and help resolve these issues. And you'll see in the bottom left there, we got that waiting for. That can be a good, helpful hint that it's thinking, right? So let's let it do its thing. So we put on the relaxing music and we just hang out. Chat your friends, check in on them, make sure they're okay. Okay, so hey, now we've added this text block. Now it's not in a container, so naughty. Let's actually add a container and move this element in, right? Like, oh shoot, I forgot to put it in a container. All right. I don't love this naming. IT, I'm sorry. We have grid layout container and flex grid container. Grid layout is what you should be using for text blocks. So let's go and add that. And we're going to do like another right sidebar. You'll also notice kind of here that we have a tabbed container. You can use that too. I prefer to like let the tabbed container go across and then add my grid layout container within it, and then I would add text. All right, but let's say we're adding a new section. I've got my grid layout again. You can click either directly on the text here to define, or click on the gear and go to new data. Right sidebar, padding default. Sounds great. Okay. Hey, sweet. I've got it in here, but like, I already wrote this, man. Let's say you wrote an actual, big chunk of content. You can move this in a few ways. You can move stuff up and down using these. It tends to operate within its current container. So this is just on like the page container. If I want to put it in a new container, click and drag, and you got to hold down. I'm holding down the mouse here so you can see where it's going to go and move it there. Again, we just got to be patient. Let the system do its thing. Trust the process. All right. Look at that. It's in our container. Perfect. Okay. So, but Cole, I hear you ask. I want to add these. These are cool, right? These flex promo with image. A promo text only. Yeah. Social media? All right. Okay. All right. I hear you. Another thing people really like is this right-hand sidebar. Let me warn you real quick. So this is a right sidebar, right? Here's the left-hand side. Here's the right-hand side. Got to be careful with this, though. A lot of times people like to put very important information over here at the top of the right sidebar, thinking it's going to be at the front of my page. This is great. Come on, everybody's going to see it. Love our program. If you look at it on mobile, let's turn it. There we go. I had to get its life together. So we've got our left-hand content here, all those departments. Yeah. Oh, there it is. So the right sidebar is going to go underneath, right? So everything that's in here is going to go underneath that left-hand side when it's viewed on mobile. Almost half of our traffic is mobile, so it's an important consideration because a lot of people think right away, oh, I can put my most important content, I want a big welcome here on my homepage, and then like people need to go to like this link, right? We can't do that, unfortunately. Also, don't try to line this stuff up perfect because people have different size screens. There's going to be different devices viewing it. So what works on your screen isn't necessarily going to work on everybody else's screen. It's another kind of common trap when people are making their pages. They're like, oh, it looked great on my screen, but like I looked at somebody else's and it's like, so try not to get too specific with what you're trying to do in terms of alignment and stuff like that, because not everybody's situation is equal to yours. But let's get back to the flex blocks, right? Let's add some social media on the right over here. So if I look under the redesigned flex modules, I've got a couple things. I got like 3 bullets, facts, house ad. The most common elements I've seen are the promo with text only, promo with image, and the social media. But remember how I said we have to have it go into a flex container. So we've got our flex grid container right there. Let's do that. Hey. Okay. Again, as with all new elements, click on the text or on the gear and do new data. So this, you can do a title on a flex grid. We can do a number of boxes. Let's just do 1. Right? You know, we're going to do multiple items. Let's do a full 3. There is another thing that we're going to go over with this. You're going to see the boxes, and they're going to be horizontally aligned. Normally, these boxes want to kind of fill their container, go across. Like, I don't want that. Ooh. If you're putting flex elements in that right sidebar, instead of just as its own container, you want to... Oh, also, it does this from time to time. See how the box is up there? It just does it. It mixes it up. It gets a little weird. So, I've added a flex grid on my right sidebar. I want to add social media, promos, all kinds of stuff there. You need to change the layout. You can go to choose layout, flex grid for right sidebar. Self-explanatory, right? The layout can be a useful thing to edit in order to change the way certain things appear or make sure that they behave proper. You shouldn't have to use it for most elements. All right, so great. Now you can see it's all vertically stacked as it should be. So inside our flex grid, now let's add some flex elements. All right, I'm just going to add a bunch to them and then we'll kind of define each later. So we're going to add our social media box. And we're going to add, let's do a promo with image. And then we are also going to do, let's say a promo, text promo. You can do the house ads and stuff. I don't love them. You can. The fax module, it's neato burrito, but yeah, let's do it with just text only. I will, in future streams, go over each of these elements specifically. I'm just trying to hit the main ones right now, and yeah. Okay, so social media post. You got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It is not a feed. You have to link to a very specific post. Let me, in my other screen, open that up and take a look. Make sure nobody's waiting. All right. Is there anything that isn't depressing on social media right now? Boy. Here we go. All right, so if you're going to copy, you do, ooh, sorry, it's under the share button now. Copy link to tweet. And then in here, we can edit that. Let's go to Twitter, and you paste that right there. Facebook, I think you have to click on the time it was posted, and then that gives you the specific post URL that you can then paste into there for that. I think Instagram works kind of the same way. I'll be honest, I'm not much of an Instagram user, so I would double check my facts on that. But yeah, so it's a post. Sweet, right? You can do it. Flex promo with image. So this tends to be used less on the right sidebar. we got one over here, you know, it's kind of neat. A lot of times people like to use it over here. One good example, I think, is students' involvement. The promos are really good for helping to organize people into buckets, right? Be like, hey, you need to, like, are you trying to get involved in student government, clubs? Excuse me. It's a great way for home pages to help sort people and make sure that they get where they need to go for the pages, and add a little bit of flair with the images, kind of show off what your office is about. Now, that being said, we got to make sure that it actually all fits together. So you can add an image to it. Unlike the image with a text block, though, it actually has specific requirements for the image size. And these dimensions are pixel dimensions. If you don't have software to edit images, let me know. I'm more than happy to help out. I don't have free resources off the top of my head to share with you right now. We do have good old Paint, right? So you can, pretty sure you can set sizes here. Yeah, resize. You can set it by pixels, right? So, all right, shall we do it? Let's do it. All right, 640. One thing too, if you're editing an existing image and you have an option when editing it, please try to maintain the aspect ratio. If you like just click to drag and expand or contract, it's gonna warp your image and look bad. So if you upload your image, it's like, oh, it looks terrible. That's why, because we have to maintain aspect ratio so your image doesn't look warped. This is blank, so we can set it to whatever we want. So it's going to do this. Let's, yeah. Did they get rid of the little spray can? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Classic. Cole rules. Yo. All right. Let's save it. Desktop. Cole rules. Boom. So you can do your image editing that way. I know Mac comes with default image opening software. I'm fairly certain you can edit the size of it that way. Again, it may not be easy to edit it without messing with the aspect ratio. Oh, hello, Karen. How are you doing? So, all right, yeah, let's add a new image, right? So we need to select the image that has been properly sized. So we're going to go to new. And this can get confusing here. So depending on how you're adding the image, this screen is going to look different. Sometimes it starts with subsite checked. That needs to be unchecked. By default, whatever page you're working on, it's going to select that folder because, right, like I'm working on OCL. I want to upload it to the OCL folder. You need to also make sure that this image gallery is set to default image gallery. I think no matter what, it's going to not be selected. So just make sure you do that. Okay, so we've got subsite, the box is unchecked, we've got default image gallery, and we've got OCL selected under our subsite. You know, clear, crystal. So let's go to add image, choose a file, desktop, and Cole rules, yeah. Let's upload that. Oh, we need alt text. And you know what I did? I just did text on this, so I can just do that, Cole rules. You can do common spot keywords. I don't think we really use that as much anymore. IT, feel free to flog me and correct me if I'm incorrect. Let's hit save. Great, it's been uploaded. It just kind of double checks that you've got everything there and hit save. All right, so we got title. Link to nowhere. All right, content. Usually you only have, it says here, we got about 70 characters to describe what you want. Again, we tend to use these elements to say, hey, go check this, go check that. It directs people to where they might want to be going. So this goes nowhere. Sorry. CTA label. CTA stands for call to action. That's basically what the box is going to say, that the box that we use for a link. With these, try to be specific. And this is for links in general. Don't just do click here, this link. Because, again, if I'm a blind user and I'm scrolling through all the links on a page because I want to go to the right document or web page, and all that it has for the text is click here, click here, click here, click here. Where does that send to me, right? So let's say you were going to like a dining program page. Oh, that's funny. Dining hours, right? And then you could select the appropriate page. Let's see what page I'm going to select at random. Okay, so whenever you want to link to something for AU, we got a couple ways. You can select to a page, the default option, or you can do an unregistered URL. If you want to go to like Facebook, if this is a non-AU web page, you click here. But we're going to an AU page, so let's do this. You're going to click choose from current subsite. Whoa, it's got all these web pages, right? So you can see by default I'm in OCL because I'm working on an OCL page. It should automatically be in whatever subsite you're editing a page in. Now, you may not necessarily remember what the title of the page is, especially if it's a somewhat new page. Interesting. Boy, VPN is having fun with everything I'm doing. All right, so let's go ahead and link to the welcome families. Do I want that? So you can actually click on, we don't actually, because that's new. Let's go to the home page. But is it the home page? See this box with an arrow? You can click that and it will open in a new tab. And that's a great way to make sure, hey, I'm going to the right page. Let's go and close that. All right, we've got it highlighted. Use highlighted content, insert link. So for our call to action, for the label of this link, we want to say Campus Life Home. That's a lie. It goes to Campus Life homepage. And hit save. Sorry, folks, just checking the chat, making sure I'm not missing stuff. I think VPN's kind of been messing with my streaming stuff. Okie dokie. Had a delay. Interesting. Okay, so, this is great. So, wait, all of my changes, where did they go? This happens sometimes after you make a change. Don't panic. Don't panic. Click view. Hey, it went to view as published. We haven't pushed our changes live, so our published version is going to be without our changes. Change your view to all changes. You can do just my changes. Since I'm usually working on a page with other people, I just do all changes to make sure I'm not missing anything. If you know you're the only person touching a page, you don't need to, but I try to be better safe than sorry. Hey, look. All right. We've got my image. We've got the title here. It goes nowhere. Oh, that's a lie. And it goes to Campus Life Home. In the bottom left of the screen, if you look over there, you can see that it says where it's going. Okay, the flex promo text only. This is I wonder where my I want to see the chat. Oh well. Oh, no, cancel. Like I said, we're trying things out here. Gotta make sure I'm understanding. Okay, so text promo. This same thing, but you don't have to do the image. Text promo description link to nowhere. And let's do an unregistered. Oh, you can even do emails. Also, documents. Documents are a whole other beast. I will cover that in a separate stream. I'll send it to Google. Let's say google.com. Now, with these buttons, and this can get a little frustrating, right? I said, hey, don't use just click here, right? You need to actually describe where that link is going. Sometimes your description is going to be a bit too long. It is possible to go off the edge of that button with something too long. This fits, but other descriptions might not. get creative with it would be my suggestion. But yeah, so hey, so now you can see, ooh, this is going on kind of long on the right hand side. Stylistic thing, not a accessibility issue, but generally we like the left hand side. Excuse me. We like the left hand side to be longer than the right. So if you notice, and again, like I said, it's going to look a little different on different screens. It doesn't have to be exact. If it's close, good enough. But again, that right hand sidebar for about 50% of our traffic is going to go beneath the left hand side. So try to make sure the left hand side, our main section of a web page, has more content than the right hand side. All right, folks, I've been testing this since 10. I know I've only kind of been actually live streaming for a bit, but that I think is going to do it for my test. I'm going to have some more prepared notes. I'm going to query suggestions and any kind of questions people got, but thank you for tuning in. And if you're watching this recording, please feel free to send questions to rampleM@american.edu. Let me see if I can't get that text up in here. Email. We're going to, can we give it a background? Let's give it a background. Boom. Look at that. rampleM@american.edu. Send me your questions. I'll talk to you all later.